Hello everyone, and thank you all so much for coming to this talk on how Twitch streamers use humour and comedy in their game broadcasts. 10 minutes is not a great deal of time, so let's get started. Firstly, I will briefly cover Twitch and say a few words on method, and then I will look at the three research fields which have fed into this, which are the studies of play humour, game humour, and internet humour, which lead into what I will call stream humour. Then we'll explore my three case studies, and finish with some concluding thoughts. Also, please note the trigger warning at the bottom of this slide. Now, seeing as this is a games research conference, I'm sure we all know what Twitch is, but in case you haven't spent much time there yourself, Twitch in most countries is the leading website or platform for the live broadcast and the live watching of gameplay. Twitch is huge these days. There's several million people on Twitch who routinely broadcast to a combined audience of well over 100 million people. And Twitch has become increasingly quite a central site for the creation and the mediation of gaming culture, and for also consuming games and doing so in a public manner as well. A quick note on method. This paper is one of many that's come from a long-running 5 or 6 year project into Twitch. A lot of the findings here come from ethnographic and observational work conducted both on Twitch itself and in live settings also, which has led to the three main case studies for this paper, which explore stream humour from the point of view of the streamer, from the point of view of the viewers, and from the point of view of the kind of wider lifespan that some Twitch broadcasts sometimes have. So quickly, and there's a full version in the full paper, this project draws on research on three kinds of humour: play humour, game humour, and internet humour. And play humour, much like play in general, is seen as being more kind of open-ended, more anarchic in some sense compared to the more rule-based orders of games. And also play humour, quite a bit of the research on this explores things like slapstick and mockery and satire and these sorts of things. And this kind of play humour can be very effective at reducing how serious or structured something seems to be. And as I hope to show here and in the full paper, play humour is a very important point for understanding how humour and comic behaviour on Twitch function. This in turn takes us on to game humour, and quite a bit has been written on this, and as I'm sure we all know, games and gaming culture have quite a rich and detailed kind of set of humour, of jokes, of memes, in-jokes and so on. But at the same time, game spaces have been noted by various authors as being particularly conducive to quite hostile or quite nasty or quite mean-spirited forms of humour. And so the kind of humour that seems to surround games is quite different from that which seems to surround play, but both of them appear to manifest on Twitch within stream humour. The final conceptual background component for thinking through stream humour is internet humour, with which I'm sure we are all familiar, at least to some extent. And this is often kind of dark or black or gallows humour, where slurs and parodies and insults and so on are quite common. Key to making sense of internet humour, of course, is the fact that in most online interactions one is anonymous to a greater or less extent. And this kind of humour is not specifically tailored to certain roles or certain actions on the web, but is more of a constant backdrop in all kinds of online spaces, including, of course, Twitch. So, having looked at play, game, and internet humour, which are both much more kind of long-term, well-established fields of humour research, what has been written on stream humour? The answer is a little bit, but no kind of focused study yet up until this. And those who have talked about stream humour have noticed things like the strong and central role of inside jokes, the key role of memes and so on, how jokes are used both within Twitch as a platform and within specific Twitch channels to create group identities and give a sense of group membership. And also the use of emojis, these little pictures which are most often faces on Twitch, is also central to how Twitch streamers and Twitch viewers express and receive humour. For my first case study, in this case exploring how streamers behave, we can look to how Twitch game streamers responded to a particular mission in Cyberpunk 2077. There's an early mission where you find a female character who you've been trying to find, who is naked, who's been beaten, and who's floating in a bath of ice. And this is clearly meant to be a very kind of shocking, unpleasant moment, but instead, Twitch streamers almost without exception use this as a source of humour. They would say things like, "Oh dear," or "Oh, that doesn't look like a fun way to spend an evening." They would make jokes about the fact that she was naked. They would also make jokes more broadly about women's bodies and women's bodies on Twitch. And so this very kind of heavy and pleasant moment was transformed by almost every streamer into a source of humor instead. This case therefore really shows us quite well both how lots of the jokes on Twitch can be very inappropriate and in some sense very unpleasant or disrespectful or these sorts of things, but also that Twitch is a site in which almost anything can be made into a joke. It's also useful here to think about the so-called incongruity theory of humor, in which two ideas or concepts which clash can create amusement. So here, the intended seriousness of the scene and the extremely light-hearted, everyday, engaging method that streamers use in most cases in their broadcasts clashed and created a source of humor. In turn, her body itself became the butt of this joke in a sense that almost approached the slapstick. The second case study I want to explore is the so-called Twitch cops. For those who spend time on Twitch, you'll know that Twitch has admins and staff who sometimes show up in channels. And these people collectively are sometimes known as the Twitch cops. And whenever someone does something on a channel they shouldn't have done, such as when they say a word they shouldn't say, or when any hint of sexual content appears on stream, or when a streamer falls asleep by accident and so on, then viewers will jokingly invoke the Twitch cops as a way to sort of humorously express a kind of faux disapproval of what that streamer is doing. And this has gone quite far, as many streamers now have cop emojis of their own, for instance, and many viewers will often kind of jokingly threaten a streamer with having the Twitch cops called on them. This is of interest in terms of humor when we think about how Twitch streamers and even more so Twitch viewers treat the terms of service and the community guidelines and so on Twitch as a kind of joke. And so viewers and to some extent streamers are kind of mocking the Twitch cops and making light of their powers to close down channels, to ban people and so on, by mocking them because they failed to show up at this moment of transgression in a Twitch channel and hence seem to be kind of distant or out of touch in some sense. And so this kind of humor is an attack on the most kind of powerful or influential people on Twitch. And so the case of Twitch cops shows us how the power that people have on Twitch and the platform itself can both shape what kind of humor emerges on Twitch in this kind of very anti-authority, anti-power form. So whereas my first case study looked at what streamers do, and the second case study looked at how viewers respond to what streamers do, this third case study looks at what happens to content and broadcasts on Twitch beyond its initial broadcast and its initial reception. There's a very famous clip of a streamer who was playing one of the Last of Us games and had a very kind of genuine emotional reaction to the in-game rabbit being killed. And while this was a very real and in some ways quite touching response, it has since been transformed into a source of amusement instead. And so this clip and her reaction to it has since been applied to a wide range of varied and almost always incongruous moments from other games, from films, from TV shows, and from news stories and so on. And so what we see here is the making fun of the streamer themselves is itself completely valid on Twitch. And some other authors have also noted this, how very few things on Twitch are taken seriously, and that's not just the game or the streamer's response to the game or the viewer's response to the streamer or to the game, but the streamer themselves can also be used as a source of comedy. And that puts the streamer in this kind of difficult, awkward moment where some of their fame or some of their success or some of their community and so on are focused around making fun of them, and yet they are still, of course, being made fun of. So, what I hope I've shown here at extremely high speed is how these three kinds of humour, play humour, game humour, and internet humour, all take place on Twitch. And each of these three case studies showed a different combination of these humour forms. So in the first case study, we saw game humour and play humour. In the second, we saw play humour and internet humour. And in the third, we saw the final combination, internet humour and game humour. And while all three of these forms of humour do feed into stream humour, it's also important to note that through the platform's infrastructure, through the norms and the standard cultural behaviors and so on Twitch, and how Twitch distributes power and competencies and so on, that these are all on Twitch, or most likely on any kind of game streaming platform, being transformed into something new and different as well, which I call stream humour. And that's pretty much everything I have to say. If you'd like to check out some of my existing Twitch work, please head to one of these links to find some of my prior papers on Twitch and game streaming. If you'd like a preprint of this paper, please send me an email. Thank you all so much for listening and hope you all have a great day. Bye.